Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the next winter storm that is just stomping its way across the United States. Alright, so let's just get right into it here. So I believe the winter storm deemed by the Weather Channel, it deemed the name Leona. So Winter Storm Leona is currently making its way across the United States right now, exiting through the west. And as you can see, we got the winter weather advisories in Texas and Oklahoma, all the way up through Arkansas and into Illinois as well. And even some winter storm watches a little bit further east into Texas. We can dissect some of these. So kind of near Dallas, honestly, like including Dallas, Fort Worth, winter storm watch due to possible effects of icing and freezing rain. Up to 1/4 of an inch is possible. Here's your potential. Again, right around from Paris, Texas, down through DFW. Right, some freezing rain will be possible, and you can see some of the timing for these different cities here, pretty much lasting a good 12 hours in some of these places. So I mean, it's a good amount of time of ice. Now, of course, usually it doesn't fall too heavily, but remember, all it takes is like a tenth of an inch to cause problems, and 1/4 of an inch to cause some bigger problems. All right, so if we go back here, if we go back here to Missouri, maybe look at some of the winter weather advisories there. Look at the weather story that their weather service posted there. So I think ice is going to be an issue there as well. As you can see, significant travel impacts. You can see some pictures here from, I assume, from past events. Definitely going to be an ice problem here. And then there you go. So there's your icy commute. All right. So basically, the highest probability of impacts, it's gonna be a bunch of freezing rain, snow, sleet, just a bunch of mess. So the best chances for these impacts will be around St. Louis and points to the east. Once you go west, like towards Columbia, those chances go down a little bit, but still, I mean, 40 to 60% is nothing to sneeze at. This is according to their weather service, of course. All right, and then you can see the chance for wintry mix and some snow down to the south here. And of course, I'll be making its way up as the storm moves through. So basically, we're going to be taking a look at the models and kind of taking a look at it like the cold side. And we're going to take a look at the east, basically the south and the north, right? You'll see some snow potentially in the east, and of course, towards the Midwest, you can look there as well. In the south, you might see some rain and some thunderstorms from this, could lead to some flooding. And then the north, like the northern plains, could see the very cold air coming in. It's honestly hitting right now, but it will continue. So we're going to take a look at all these areas here today. And you can see that through a GFS model, you can see one low pressure. It's kind of like the current one that's in the south right now. Whoops, the sound thing's randomly pop up. But you can see currently across the south, this is not really part of Leona. This is kind of like another low out ahead of it. That's kind of producing some rain, and that's going to move its way off the coast, kind of skirt its way off the coast. And then you can see Leona coming in shortly thereafter. And you can see a bunch of snow and sleet through Kentucky and points to the south. All right, a little area of snow, they're saying, according to this model, maybe could even get through parts of the Delmarva, but generally light, not what they were showing, last week, to my disappointment, but it's okay. The snow looked more widespread before, but you can see still some snow even through parts of southern Virginia as well. You can see some snow break out there. Again, it's kind of like a couple little mini rounds. It's really nothing significant. And then you can see the low pressure starts to build right here off the coast. We got some more rain. You got another low pressure forming down here. So these two lows are going to kind of work together to keep that rain kind of widespread, if you will, across the southeast. And again, not much in the way of snow. However, it will get pretty cold once that low makes its way kind of off the coast, and it's going to allow it to usher some cold air on the backside there. All right, as you can see here for the snow totals, the GFS model kind of taken through Friday. Again, maybe some isolated spots, maybe through the Midwest on that northern branch, and then maybe down towards the south, maybe like 1 to 3 inches, in some isolated spots where the snow forms. But again, it's not going to be like a widespread, massive snow event. Unfortunately, I know, including myself on the I-95 corridor, we're still waiting on that snowstorm. Really nothing, here yet except for flurries. But one can hope and dream. But next model, we have the European model, kind of showing a similar thing. There is model agreement, although I would hope so, considering this is like only 18 hours out. But you can see the low exiting the North Carolina coast. Again, maybe like a little northern branch of snow. kind of like attached to that low, sort of in a way, and it's going to kind of move its way off to the east. Maybe some rain and snow mix as well. You can see again a little couple areas of snow in the Mid-Atlantic. Yeah, no, it's very it's not very organized. It's not very significant. And you can see these lows look a little bit more detached. In the GFS model, they were a little closer together. Now they're really separated here. Like the precipitation shields are completely separated. On the European model here, but rain moves through the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, but we still have, with that low up here somewhere, we're still going to have that cold air just sinking in afterwards. I mean, at least here, it's supposed to get down to like around 10 degrees at night again. Although that Christmas time around here, it did get pretty cold. I believe the feels like temperature, or the wind chill, if you will, was down to like -15 around Christmas time. So I don't know if it's going to get that cold again, but certainly could be possible. We're definitely going to get pretty cold in terms of, air temperature. But when we look at the 10-to-1 ratio, I know that the GFS uses Kuchera. It's really not available on here for the Kuchera ratio, but the 10-to-1 ratio, again, it's not much different. Just, again, about an inch of snow. I wouldn't even say it's going to be this widespread. Wherever the snow falls, you might get like a quick inch. It won't even be that heavy, and it may not even stick if your temperature is going to be moderate like they're supposed to be. The GFS, or sorry, not the GFS, about to say GFS. The GDPS, aka the Canadian model, is a little bit more interesting. All right, so we got like a low kind of moving its way, kind of in this direction. Again, not too different from the other models so far. And then precipitation kind of enters, and there you go. This is what I like to see, but just because I like it doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily right. But definitely one we have to take into consideration, of course. I mean, if the low, is a little bit stronger, and the cold air, as you can see, the high pressure is in place, supplying that cold air. And if that were to happen, I'd see this. I mean, what the model lays out here is a perfectly plausible scenario, right? If the high pressure is in place, if the cold air is supplied in from Canada, and the low is strong enough to produce that precipitation, 2012, it's not strong. If this was like a tropical system, we would say that's like weak, But, I mean, for a regular low pressure system, that's not that weak. Right? It's enough to produce some precipitation and some moderate to heavy snow, in fact. Parts of the northern Mid-Atlantic, from basically like D.C. to Philadelphia on towards the Jersey Shore, and all the areas in between, you could see some snow. It doesn't last too long. I mean, kind of creeps in the region around, early Wednesday morning on February 1st. Here's like 8 a.m. and then by, the afternoon, it's gone. But, still some snow nonetheless, better than nothing. And of course, as that high pressure sets in, the cold air, although not as prominent as the other two models, I would say. That 540 line is a little further north, which is interesting. But okay, there we go. So yeah, late Friday, so they kind of have the cold air spilling down into Saturday. Some models later on Friday. Timings were a little bit disagreed upon, but cold air will be filtering in then nonetheless. So their snowfall map looks, of course, a lot more interesting. We got about, 3 to 6 inches right around northern central Delaware, and kind of like that southwestern area of New Jersey, around like Millville, areas like that, maybe even down towards Cape May. So that's interesting. And of course, around West Virginia, around Snowshoe, in those areas on like the Appalachian mountain side of the state and the eastern side of the state, maybe a little over half a foot, maybe some heavier snow up in New York as well. Although so that's going to come. Some of that will be in the next, couple days. See the first few inches, and then it kind of jumps up. We get another few inches to add on to that. Because of course it's cumulative. So two separate systems could be supplying snow to New York, but still, I mean, a couple inches, from Illinois to Indiana to Ohio. So it's certainly looking interesting. All right, so that's the east, kind of the east. And we kind of touched on the central part of the United States a little bit. That ends that portion. So next, we're gonna take a look at the southeast. All right, kind of like between Texas and Georgia, kind of like covering that southeastern area. And some rivers here, and we take a look at it real quick. Some rivers I have heard and seen have been in minor or even moderate flood stage on some of these gauges. And this is just the first round of rain coming through right now, and there's going to be more on the way. So that's why there's a flood watch in event. Now the difference, I know people sometimes ask well, what's the difference between a flash flood watch and a flood watch? Well, a flash flood watch is when you're expected or is possible for you to get a kind of like a lot of rain in a short period of time. And that's typically associated with a severe thunderstorm, although it could be associated with other things, but that's typically what it's most associated with. And then a flood watch, it's kind of like you still get a lot of rainfall, but it's over a longer period of time. Say like, maybe like you're gonna get like, let's say you get 5, 6 inches of rain over like 4 days. It's not gonna all fall at once, but it's gonna be spread out. And you can still see heavy rain in that period of time. And also a flood watch, without the word flash in it, a flood watch is also typically issued when, rivers are in danger because while rivers can still, overflow from flash flooding, right, a normal flood watch, more rain over a longer period of time can also exacerbate that. So these are kind of typically issued as well with, in conjunction with river flooding that's expected. So as you can see here, 1 to 3 inches of widespread rainfall and isolated pockets of 5 inches cannot be rolled out. Now this is just for this one little area. I mean, I think some areas could even hit 6 inches across the entire southeast between East Texas and Georgia. So let's take a look at these models. All right. Now keep in mind when we look at the rain graphs, some of the rain has already started. So kind of like factor this in as additional rainfall. So from the time the model run starts, which was around the afternoon. So basically from this afternoon and then everything you see here is additional rain tacked on because I know the rain has started and is ongoing. But this first system going to kind of make its way off the coast, maybe strengthen a little bit. That rain's out of here though. And some isolated showers, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and then later Wednesday into Thursday, we see another wave. And then through the day Thursday, we start to see, the winter storm or the storm. I know it's not like a winter storm, but it's still a winter storm technically speaking. But the storm kind of makes its way across the southeast with some heavy rain along with it, and that kind of exits the coast. And that's going to be that's going to be like your couple waves of rain. So it doesn't seem like much, but remember, again, we've already had a lot of rain. It's not going to take much. And look at this red area. I mean, anywhere in the red, 2 to 4 inches of rain expected between now, again, additional rain between now and Friday. So basically through this week, it's going to be pretty wet. In some areas, you got here's your 4 to 6 inch totals here, around northern South Carolina, maybe kind of like just north of the Atlanta suburbs, and then near Jackson, Mississippi, which is a lot of rain. And I know too much of a good thing is not a good thing necessarily, but I know Jackson, Mississippi has had a lot of water shortages, so this could potentially help out their situation a little bit because I know they are running out of water a lot. So hopefully this will help. I'm not sure if it's necessarily like a drought issue because I know it's like Jackson. It's just like that city specifically has had some pretty troubling issues with water. Some of it could be drought related, but I haven't really read too much into it. But I do know they're having some water problems. But hopefully this will help. 2 to 5 inches of rain spread throughout the week could cause some flooding issues. Again, not at once. It's not going to be flash flooding, but still could cause some problems. So here you have the European model. Again, here's that first system making its way across. Some more isolated showers and thunderstorms Tuesday, Wednesday. Kind of think of like those isolated storms you get like in Florida. Your daily sea breeze thunderstorms because there's going to be a southerly flow this whole time, right? Because that low is back here, so it's pumping in a southerly flow. So dew points are going to be higher, and you're going to have that threat of showers and storms every day until the storm arrives. Kind of like the front, if you will, or like the the main push. You get your appetizer, and then here comes the main push of rainy weather and some thunderstorms, of course, because as you can see, some higher DBZs on here. Some heavier rainfall rates, maybe even some thunder and lightning. Then it moves away off the coast, kind of the European kind of sags the load kind of towards Florida, so you guys can see some more widespread rain. Not maybe as opposed to your daily sea breeze thunderstorms. So here is the rainfall map according to the European model. So again, this is through the southeast, kind of like through the end of the week through Friday. You can see again, here's your 2 to 4 inches of rainfall in that zone here. So between North Carolina and East Texas. So definitely, again, a very, wide swath, millions of people in this zone. Although European, I can kind of see a little bit more, more widespread. It's not widespread, but compared to the GFS, a little bit more coverage of that, 4 to 6 inch rainfall totals, across Mississippi and Alabama, and even down through East Texas and South Central Louisiana. Again, they're still kind of spotty, but there are some areas you can see 4, 5 inches of rain. It's certainly not out of the question. So, again, a lot of rainfall, even spread out over a week. Like, think about it. 4 inches of rainfall is like what most, like think of like the mid-Atlantic kind of climate, right? Like, I feel like 4 inches of rain is the kind of rain you get over, say, 2 months. So, or even maybe more spread out than that. So, to get that in a week is still pretty, impressive in terms of the flooding threat. So again, here's a Canadian model. You can see the rain making its way through, and them having the cold bias that they do, which is why I think they were maybe showing the snow for the Mid-Atlantic, but we'll see. But they do show some ice and sleet. I don't know if it's going to get this far south, but there is some wintry weather potential, in the Tennessee Valley, and they have it getting all the way down like Louisiana, Mississippi as well. And you can see really break out here, south central Arkansas, some ice potential there. But yeah, we won't get this far south. We'll have to wait and see, let the models play it out here. But there's Leona, kind of like the main storm, kind of making its way off the coast, and then the low kind of. So it was interesting because the last model we, I feel like it was the GFS, I think, that kind of had the low lingering down by Florida here. I believe that was the GFS. Yeah, the GFS and the Euro actually, I think, had it, which is pretty interesting. So they kind of had the low, hanging down by Florida right there. And then the Canadian model basically took that and said, let's take it a step further. And then they had the low reforming or morphing into a stronger low and more wintry weather across, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and even some ice. And then there's your really heavy ice across the Carolinas there, kind of like a sleet layer over top of that dark pink. And then maybe even some snow behind that. And you can see the low right here and this cold layer, this cold pocket right here. You can just tell how quick the cold air is wrapping around the low pressure on the back side. So here is the 2 to 4 inch rain total zone. Again, pretty widespread. I mean, this is like 7-8 states that we're talking here. And again, that 4 to 6 inch rain zone, Louisiana, like Texarkana area, eastern Mississippi and through like middle Alabama, if you will. So again, rainfall threat, going to be one to watch out for. Now, last one, real quick, we're going to take a look at is the cold air because, is it getting bad? I mean, this is just air temperatures. Look at this. I mean, Monday or early Monday morning getting down to negative 20s. And then Tuesday and then into Wednesday, it's going to be the same thing repeating. I mean, it's just going to be some crazy temperatures here. And that's just the temperatures. Because take a look at these wind chills. All right. Yep, here we go. Looks a lot like Christmas, doesn't it? Negative 40s here, negative 30s. So please bundle up. And I would say, with these kind of temperatures, obviously wind chills don't, necessarily factor in how ice freezes over. But even the temperatures are down to negative 20s. I think if you give it just a little bit, I think that, those ponds will be, safe to walk out on. But of course, do be very careful. But yeah, it's definitely the kind of weather to go, ice skinning on your, on your retention pond if you have one or nearby waterway. And you can see the Euro even through Friday. I mean, we still got these are actual temperatures still getting down to the negative teens, and eventually, slowly but surely, it'll get pushed away. But it's gonna be a while. And the Canadian, here you go, negative teens, negative 20s, and you can just see that purple. That's that below zero. Not going to get pushed out until maybe next weekend. And it still comes back, and so yeah, it's going to be lingering around for a little bit, at least across the northern plains, kind of in this zone here. So thank you guys for watching. That is Winter Storm Leona for you. Everyone be safe, no matter if you're in the cold air zone or the ice zone or the flooding zone. Definitely don't take any storm for a grain of salt. Be careful. Be prepared. Thank you for watching. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Until next time.